What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Gage. Welcome to the channel. Today, I am excited to be showing off my Raging Bolt EX deck profile. This is for the post-rotation of the current Pokemon metagame in 2025. This is an awesome Pokemon, and I am glad that it is seeing success not only as a playable strategy in the current Pokemon trading card game, but a competitive strategy at that. So I'm excited to hop into the deck profile, but before we do, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to help out the smaller content creators like myself. It really encourages me and motivates me to continue to bring content like this. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and hop right into it. So we are playing, of course, 4 copies of the main man himself, and that is Raging Bolt EX. So you'll see that I am playing the alternate art. This is the Japanese version, but a lot of the time I'm just playing casually with my friends. So obviously you want to make sure that you are playing English cards if you plan on playing in any store or regional event. But because I just play casually, I just wanted to really be able to play the alternate art without actually breaking the bank. So we are playing 4 copies of Raging Bolt, 240 HP, with the Burst Roar attack, which discards your hand to draw 6 cards, which in a pinch, I guess if you really need to be able to do that, it is an option. However, we are really here for the Bellowing Thunder attack. So for a lightning and a fighting energy, you can do 70 damage times the number of discarding the amount of basic energy from your Pokemon, and it does 70 for each one that you discard that way. So essentially, the strategy is to get as many energies in play and then discard them to be able to swing for huge amounts of damage. So there are ways for us to be able to accelerate energy onto our Pokemon, and keep in mind, it does not necessarily have to be attached to the Raging Bolt. What's great is that it just says from your Pokemon, so that could be from Pokemon on your bench as well. So we are playing cards to help support us in getting the energy there. The lightning and the fighting can be an awkward energy combination for sure. However, we are playing cards to be able to help mitigate the downside of us needing to have that kind of seemingly random energy requirement. And what really pushes Raging Bolt over the edge is the fact that there is no weakness. So you don't have to worry about getting dunked by a particular deck just because you have a certain type weakness to it. So yeah, Raging Bolt is an incredible card, and that is why I'm playing it at 4 copies. Technically, you could probably get away with 3. However, I just like to be able to get them into play as quickly as possible. And I am playing 4 copies of one of the best support Pokemon for the deck, and that is Teal Mask Ogrepon EX. It has the Teal Dance ability, which once during your turn, you can attach a basic grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon, and then you get to draw a card. So just really nice at being able to accelerate energy into play and to be able to consistently get more cards into your hand. In a pinch, you can go ahead and use Myriad Leaf Shower, which for 3 energy, it does 30 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. Really, the star of the show in terms of attacking is going to be your Raging Bolt, and that's going to be your priority. But theoretically, you could use the attack from the Myriad Leaf Shower if you need it. What is especially important about the Teal Mask is that it is a terrestrial Pokemon. So you really want to make sure that because it is a terrestrial Pokemon, that this is in play, because it does help you set up for some of the other supporting engines in the deck, in which we'll talk about that in just a moment. So yeah, Teal Mask Ogrepon, you really want to get as many in play as possible because you could Teal Dance. It does say once during your turn, but it's per copy. So if you have multiple in play, it allows you to attach an energy onto one, draw a card, and if you have another one, you can attach another energy, draw a card, you see where it's going. So you are going to exponentially increase the number of energies in play rather quickly, and so trying to get as many onto the bench is ideal. And then for the supporting engine, I am playing the Noctowl engine, which means 3 copies of Hoot Hoot, as well as 3 copies of Noctowl, which is just a very powerful engine that we are able to utilize because of the fact that it has the Jewel Seeker ability, which once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, which is from the Hoot Hoot, if you have any Terra Pokemon in play, you could search your deck for up to 2 trainers and put them into your hand, which is just absolutely busted. A lot of the time, you're going to want to establish your Teal Mask Ogrepon, so you will have a Terra Pokemon in play, meaning that you could just search the deck for any 2 trainers, which is just incredible. This is one of the ways in which the deck is super consistent because of the fact that you have the ability to search pretty much whatever you need in a pinch, and we are playing a myriad of different trainers so that you can essentially grab whatever you need for any given situation. So I love this engine, and I highly recommend playing it in modern builds, especially pre-rotation. And for some other supporting Pokemon, I am playing the one of Squawk Ability EX. The Squawk and Seize lets you, during your first turn, you could discard your hand and draw 6 cards. So if you realize that maybe your first turn hand isn't ideal, but you do have a way to be able to search into the Squawk, sometimes it may be in your best interest to just go ahead and discard the hand and get a fresh new hand. Obviously, if your hand is optimal, then you might not need to necessarily go for this, in which case you could just ignore it entirely and just keep the hand that you have. But the name of the game is variance, right? The fact that we're playing trading cards, it has a degree of randomization, right? So there is going to be games in which you have good hands, some that you don't, and Squawkabilly is more so just a judgment call in the event that maybe you don't have the most ideal hand. So playing the one of, in my opinion, is ideal. I am also playing the one of Latias EX, which has the Skyliner ability that says your basic Pokemon in play have no retreat cost. So most of the Pokemon in our deck, aside from the Noctowl, are basics. So essentially, this just makes it so that all of them lose their retreat cost, especially for the Raging Bolt. This has 3 retreat costs, which is rather hefty, so you don't necessarily want to get stuck in the active spot. So Latias is there to just kind of sit on the bench and do its thing. I'm also playing the tech for the one of Mew EX with the Restart ability. Once during your turn, you could draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. Sometimes you are just blasting through cards in your hand and you just need a quick restart. So Mew EX is really good to just kind of sit on the bench and just act as a Pokemon that you can use to refill your hand in a pinch. And it's not the worst thing in the world if it's in the active, because it does have free retreat. So sometimes if something does die, you could just have it in the active spot. And then once you're ready to actually have something come out, you can go ahead and retreat it for free. And obviously, if the Latias is out, it doesn't matter either way. But Mew EX is just a good pivot so that you don't have to use things like Switch or anything like that. And then the one of Pheasantipity EX. This has the amazing Flip the Script ability, which if once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during the last turn, you could draw 3 cards. So again, it's really just there in the event that you need to be able to get access to more cards in a pinch. So Pheasantipity is a staple in most modern builds in the Pokemon trading card game. So you want to make sure that you are not caught with your pants down and you have at least one just in case. For additional techs, I am playing the Iron Bundle with the Hyper Blower ability. Once during your turn, if it's on the bench, you may switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. They get to choose, but the idea being that you don't necessarily have to use a boss. So if there is a problematic card that is in the active spot that you don't want to be able to deal with, then having Iron Bundle, which is a Pokemon that you would be able to force out a switch, can be ideal in some circumstances. So I like being able to just tech the one of just in case. And then for some other basics, I am playing the Mini Raging Bolt, which has the Thunderburst Storm attack for a lightning and fighting energy that does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy attached to this one. So what is great about this is the fact that it allows you to do sniping damage. So there are going to be times in which that may be useful in knocking out one of your opponent's smaller, maybe their basic Pokemon that they intend on evolving into a stage 1 or a stage 2. So if you see the opportunity to be able to go for that, then having this Raging Bolt in a pinch can be a difference maker in many instances. And then I'm also playing the one Slitherwing, which does have the Burning Turbulence attack, which for 120 and 2 fighting energy, this Pokemon also does 90 damage to itself, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. So not only is it a respectable amount of damage for just 2 fighting, yeah, you're doing some damage to yourself pretty negligible if it means that you are going to be getting some key attack damage into your opponent's Pokemon, but even more importantly, dealing that burn damage, which the burn can end up being the difference maker in the getting the extra damage that you need to get the knockout. So Slitherwing is just a really nice tech if you see the opportunity to go for it. And then for the last Pokemon, I am playing Fan Rotom, which has the Fan Call ability, where once during your first turn, you may search your deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less, reveal them, put them into your hand. So this is how you are going to be easily grabbing your Hoothoots and your Noctowls, because they do meet the requirements for the colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less. So that is just incredible that you have a singular Pokemon that is able to plus you in advantage in that way. So it is really good to just be able to know that you have this at your disposal so that if you can go for it on your first turn, you can. So that's it for the Pokemon. As you see, the deck is really, really powerful because of the fact that we are able to tech in so many different types of Pokemon to handle many different types of situations. If you need searching, if you need attacking, if you need any type of draw power, there are just so many different things that you can play to be able to assist you in those circumstances. So onto the supporters, we are playing 4 copies of Professor Sada's Vitality, which just remains an incredibly powerful card because of the fact that you could choose up to 2 of your ancient Pokemon, which a lot of the time it is going to be your big Raging Bolt EX, but it could also be your Slitherwing. It could also be the mini Raging Bolt. And then you could attach them from the discard pile to them. If you attached any energy in this way, you draw 3 cards. So just an incredible supporter. Not only are you accelerating energy into the discard pile so that you can go ahead and attach them onto your Pokemon, which helps mitigate the weird attack requirements for the Raging Bolt, but you're also drawing cards on top of it. So Professor Sada's Vitality is just a staple in pretty much any ancient build in which you're utilizing ancient Pokemon, so you definitely want to play and max out on 4 copies of them. I'm also playing just the 1 copy of Crispin. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards of different types, reveal them, put 1 onto your hand, attach the other to your Pokemon. So again, this is also to help mitigate the weird energy requirement, because you could just use the Crispin, attach maybe something like a lightning energy, and then if you haven't used your attachment for turn, you could go ahead and then just straight up attach whatever the fighting energy as well. So Crispin is just a nice tech in the event that you really need to be able to load up the Raging Bolt. And I'm playing the 1 copy of Judge just for some disruption. Each player shuffles their hand into the deck and draws 4 cards. So if you realize that your opponent maybe has a lot of cards in their hand and you really want to be able to do something about that so that they don't have as many options at their disposal, then the Judge can help in a pinch to kind of reset the game state and make it so that your opponent has to work to be able to get those cards back in their hand. And then I am just teching 1 copy of Boss's Orders just to be able to force switch out one of your opponent's Pokemon on the bench with their active. Again, this deck really wants to be able to do big damage. So a lot of the time your opponent might be worried about having one of their liabilities in the active spot. So they might be trying to hide them onto the bench, but we really don't want them to be able to do that. We want to know that we have an option at our disposal to force out a Pokemon so that we can continue to go for big knockouts whenever we need it. I am also playing the 4 copies of Nest Ball. Pretty self-explanatory. Search the deck for a basic and put it onto the bench. Pretty easy. You want as much consistency in the Pokemon trading card game as possible. Nest Ball is one of the best searchers in the deck and just really in the game generally. And most of the cards in the deck are basic, which means the Nest Ball can search it. And we are playing 3 copies of Ultra Ball. This one is also, again, just for consistency. This one allows you to discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it in your hand. So this allows you to search for anything, including the Noctowls, if you really needed to be able to search it. We don't need to max out on it because it does discard, which is negative in card advantage. So what you really want to make sure is that if you are using the Ultra Ball, that you're being smart with it, right? Because if you, for example, are discarding energy, then it's not so bad, because then you could just use those energies to attach off of a Professor Sada's Vitality later down the line. So there are ways in which you can mitigate the downside of having to discard off of the Ultra Ball. So you just want to make sure that you are smart with it. And then, of course, we are playing the 4 copies of the Earthen Vessel. This card allows you to discard a card from your hand to search for up to 2 basic energy cards and reveal them and put them into your hand. So again, just being able to make sure that you have access to either the energy that you need to be able to load up your Raging Bolt, or to be able to have grass energy to load up your Teal Mask so that you can continue to get draws and accelerate energy into play is ideal. So Earthen Vessel is a powerful trainer card in this deck for sure. I'm also taking the 1 copy of Night Stretcher. Just put a Pokemon or basic energy from the discard pile into your hand. Pretty self-explanatory. There's going to be instances in which you are forced to discard maybe a card that is ideal that you could just go ahead and grab back later. So Night Stretcher is good in those circumstances. We're also playing the Superior Energy Retrieval. These are instances in which we are discarding, we are using our Raging Bolt's ability a lot, since we are sending a lot of those cards from sending a lot of the ones that are attached to the Pokemon that we have in play. That means we're going to be having a lot of energy in the discard pile, and we don't want to run out, right? So that's where the Superior Energy Retrieval comes in, because it essentially guarantees that maybe you did discard a lot of grass energy. You can just go ahead and add those back so that you can continue to reload them onto your Teal Masks, for example. We have the Pal Pad. Again, shuffle 2 supporter cards from the discard pile into the deck. So if we want to be able to shuffle back our Professor Sada, if we went through our boss, things like that, Pal Pad is nice for recursion. I'm playing the 1 Counter Catcher, so this is kind of a tool for just in case if we're behind, if we have less if you have more prizes remaining than your opponent, meaning that your opponent has taken a knockout and maybe they're ahead, then you could go ahead and just get a free boss. So I love the fact that we can have this card just in case, because if we are behind, it allows us to essentially swing the game in our favor just in case. And the 1 of powerful Ace Spec in Prime Catcher. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot, and if you do, you switch your active Pokemon with a bench Pokemon. So this is just an incredibly powerful Ace Spec, probably the best Ace Spec in the game, because of the fact that it is a free boss in an item card. So I highly recommend it in hyper-aggressive builds like this, because this can be the difference maker in ensuring that you win the game. And for the stadiums, I am playing the 1 copy of Jamming Tower, as well as the Area 0 Underdepth. So Jamming Tower, self-explanatory, Pokemon tools attached to each Pokemon have no effect. We are not really playing all that many Pokemon tools in the deck. We are playing the one which I'll show in a moment, but it doesn't really conflict all that much with our deck. Obviously, if we are playing against a deck in which the Pokemon tools are imperative to their strategy, then playing the Jamming Tower is going to hurt them more than it will hurt us. And the Area 0 Underdepths is very strong because of the fact that each player who has a Terra Pokemon in play, which you're going to have the Teal Masks, can have up to 8 Pokemon on their bench. So, and if no player has any Terra Pokemon in play, then the player discards Pokemon from their bench until they have 5. So essentially, it just means that if you have the Terra, you can have up to 8, which means that you can load your bench with as many Teal Masks, with as many of the kind of supporting Pokemon that I mentioned, just because it's really powerful to be able to have those supporting Pokemon in play, so that you have as many options at your disposal for plays in a pinch. If you need to have draws, like I mentioned earlier, if you need to have a Pokemon that can, again, refill your hand, or if you need to have a Pokemon that will go ahead and give you free retreat. So yeah, these stadiums, again, are just really powerful. So I like being able to play the 1 copy of each. And I did mention I'm playing the tool. I'm just playing the 1 Bravery Charm just to make our basic Pokemon a little beefier with that extra 50 HP. It certainly does not hurt to be able to have at least 1 tool. And again, if you see that you're going to end up going for the Jamming Tower play, then you don't necessarily have to go for this. And then last but not least, I am playing the 6 copies of the basic Grass Energy to attach onto your Ogrepon to get those draws, and then the 3 Lightning and the 3 basic Fighting. So this is so that you can obviously have the energy to attack with your Raging Bolt. So guys, thank you so much for watching my profile. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that maybe you got some ideas for your own build if this is a deck that you are interested in playing. I think that it is very strong, and I do recommend it for the current format. There are just so many viable strategies, and I'm glad that Raging Bolt is one of them because he's just such an awesome Pokemon, both in the VGC as well as in the trading card game. And I love that this is something that I have been testing and having a lot of success with. And I think that if you are interested in playing the deck as well, that you will find success too. So thank you again for your time. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're fans of content like this. And until next time, GG.